like to recognize Representative Foster from Illinois.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, and to our witnesses. Let's say, maybe I'll start talking about maybe the most important issue you're dealing with, which is recursive self-improvement. You know, the sort of the balance of opinion seems to be that sometime between maybe the end of this year and a few years from now, you're going to have AIs that will be able to make improved versions of themselves that are, 15% smarter, 15% faster every single night. At which point you're going to just see this thing take off faster than exponentially. And so how big a team do you have planning? First off, what is for your internal planning? What is the dates, the range of dates you're assuming for recursive self-improvement? What is your plan to deal with this?
I think that is one of the many topics that we think about as we plan for the types of policy or the types of systems we have in place to ingest pre-deployment models and do reviews of them. Currently, as stated in the executive order, 2 agencies have a role in that. So Casey and
how big a team?
NSA.
I mean, what I'm concerned about is that it's a very small group of people that seems to be steering the boat these days, and a small and frankly shrinking set of people that you're and the administration is looking to, and the problem is enormous. In the case of the scientific advisory committees, in the Office of Science, they've just thrown out all of the detailed advisory committees with the real experts and have this one Uber committee on which maybe you'll have one expert on all of fusion and this sort of stuff. You're going in the opposite direction of actually trying to use the accumulated wisdom of the scientific community. But just back to AI, I was very concerned. Do we read the information, document the information? It's the Silicon Valley trade rag.
Oh, information. I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, okay. And
Yep.
so you're probably on the news. Actually, if I could introduce for the record, there was last weekend, they put out an article called Trump's AI Agenda Collides with Reality, How Staff Turnover, Turf Battles, and Clashing Views Have Upended the Administration's Anti-Regulation Vision. And I urge my members, the other members, to actually take a time and understand this. Are you familiar with that particular article?
I'm not. No, sir.
You're not. Okay. Well, if you have any reactions to it, I assume it's good reporting. But it had some concerning things. It said, for example, that when you had to react to Mythos, which is the very capable AI that was capable of really scary cyber exploits and finding bugs in codes that everyone thought was safe. That the lead inside the White House on responding to that was someone whose main credential was that they were the lawyer for the RNC. Is that actually correct? That was that was how it was organized?
I think we worked as a team to ensure that we took the appropriate actions after Mythos was disclosed to the U.S. government.
Okay, but it was I urge everyone to read that, and if you find things that are not correct, please let us know, because it was very concerning. I also look at things like you've attempted. Initially when the administration came in, they were not nice to NIST, which is one of the few agencies, one of the only agencies, I guess, NIST and the Federal Reserve, that actually retains any international credibility in this administration, and that there were massive DOGE cuts to it that were not useful. And in particular, the Center for AI, we used to be safety, now it's security, and that was basically renamed and gutted, and a lot of the people left. And there isn't a more important agency or subsection of an agency. And then you assigned a new leader for that, which is good, and then within 3 months he quit. And this appears to be the pattern over and over again, that you bring into the administration someone with plausible credentials to do something, and then they either quit or leave. And this is a problem. When I look at other members of Congress, we're all very friendly with each other, but you get a very interesting measurement of their quality when you look at staff turnover. That's something I look at very carefully, and it's concerning when I see the amount of staff turnover in your AI enterprise in the White House, because, as I said, there is not a more important issue to deal with. So I urge you to just, do the best you can to recruit a broad spectrum of people, not put them through an ideological litmus test, because you throw away a lot of good talent, and you already have. So thank you, and yield back.
Gentleman's time's expired.